Hello everyone, back tuning in to today's second video of running on the 5-day forecast. And if you want to see what's happening in the next 5 days, we have to watch the video. Just scroll down the home page underneath this video and the link ads, and you'll be able to watch 5-day forecast there on the home page. The written version, you get to that via the button at the top of the page that says written forecast or written. So this is the Beijing Climate Centre look ahead for the coming month. We're going to look at the 500 millibar heights for the next 4 weeks. We actually go 40 days ahead with this, so we can go 5 weeks ahead. And we'll also have a look at the temperature and precipitation ensembles that go with that, the anomalies that go with that as well. So it can be quite interesting, I think. We're going to go up to the middle of May with this particular update for BCC Wednesday. I have to be careful not to say BBC Wednesday. It's BCC Wednesday at GavsonVids.com. It's a new feature that we do in the afternoons and the evenings here on a Wednesday at the website. But before you get on with that, just say about the ads. There's links to articles on all the pages. Have a browse widgets and click through the links if there's any articles that you're interested in. Thanks very much for doing that. There's video ads on most of the pages which open up the content, and when you watch them and close back up again, it's helping to pay for our website. I've had about 5 goes at doing this this afternoon, and with one thing and another, I've not been able to get it done. So hopefully I know what I'm going to say off by heart. We'll be able to fly through it very quickly. We're going to start off with the 500 millibar heights broken down into 10-day periods. The first 10-day period will take us from the 11th through to the 20th of April. Blue extrapolates to low pressure, and red and orange extrapolates to high pressure. So for the coming 10 days, we've got a trough of low pressure to the south and west, with a ridge out to the north and the northwest. It means that the jet stream does something like that. It places us more or less on the cool side of the jet. It's not going to be a desperately cold period, just by the way that the trough and the ridge are aligning. But we are a bit to the south of the jet stream, and we've got a trough of low pressure close, so it's going to be unsettled, especially for the coming 2 or 3 days. Friday looks really quite wet indeed across the country. Should get a bit of a drying trend then as we go through the weekend and on into next week. But that does look quite cool and unsettled for the coming 10 days, the 11th through to the 20th of April. The next 10 days, this goes from the 21st through to the 30th of April, we see that everything starts to revert westerly. So it's still unsettled. The trough of low pressure is centred around Greenland and Iceland now, with a ridge down across Spain and backing into the Azores. So this is a much more typical pattern that you would expect at any time of year, and particularly in spring. We find that the jet stream is still through the country, so it's still pretty unsettled really, but it's westerly. So at least the temperatures are staging a recovery here. We see the temperatures picking up, albeit still unsettled because the jet stream's running through the country, bringing unsettled conditions with it, and most unsettled, of course, in the north and west. The next 10-day period, this goes to the start of May, so we go from the 1st through to the 10th of May, and the trough of low pressure is weakening around Iceland. The ridge is continuing to strengthen down to the south of the country, so the jet stream is being pushed northwards now. It's almost going to the north of the country. This should be a drier and warmer start to May. But we go through to the final 10 days. It's taking us from the 11th through to the 20th of May, and it deteriorates again. What happens is that the ridge above average heights starts to pull out into the middle of the Atlantic, with a trough deepening to the north of Scotland and also around Scandinavia. This sends the jet stream south and probably aligns it northwest to southeast. So it not only turns more unsettled here through the middle part of May, it probably also turns quite a lot cooler as well, with the jet stream aligned northwest to southeast. Now, we shouldn't have to worry too much about snow away from the Scottish mountains. It's a bit late really to be getting snow, but it's not too late even into the middle of May to get some fairly damaging frost. If the nights are clear enough and the air is cool enough, you can still get some quite significant frost even into the middle of May. So it would be one for gardeners, farmers, fruit growers to be aware of, that things could turn a bit colder there as we get through into the middle of May. However, the temperature anomaly for the coming month, so it's taking us from the 11th of April through to the 10th of May, so that doesn't encompass that final day 31 to 40 period that we're just looking at. This is covering the 30-day period from the 11th through to the 10th of May. This shows the temperature anomaly actually not doing too badly. We go a little bit milder than average, and the reason for that is that, of course, the flow is going more into the Atlantic. After the first 10-day period, it's generally quite Atlantic based until the final 10-day period, which is beyond this temperature anomaly. So the temperatures overall, anyway, from the 11th of April through to 10th of May, generally a bit warmer than average. Wouldn't be too bad with temperatures. But look at this, the rainfall anomaly, precipitation anomaly continues to be above average. It continues to be quite a wet period coming up. So essentially the next month is looking reasonably mild, but really quite wet and unsettled. And notice perhaps unusually, a little bit unusual anyway, the south may be slightly wetter than the north during the coming 30-day period. That's all experimental. Let's just have a look at the slightly shorter range before I go with the GFS and ECMWF. So we know that up to 5 days in the 5-day forecast, we ended on Monday. We know that by Monday we've got a ridge building across the country. It is settling down a little bit by the end of the weekend and into the start of next week. But GFS wants to keep that ridge going into the middle part of next week. It's still hanging on just about into Wednesday, although by Wednesday it's already starting to weaken with these areas of low pressure trying to come in from the Atlantic. The flow's going more southerly though, so after a chilly start to next week, temperatures should pick up a bit by the middle of the week. But overall it's turning more unsettled again as we go through into the second half of next week on this latest GFS low pressure taking over, and eventually by day 10 this takes us to Saturday, April the 23rd. We find the low pressure diving southwards into Central Europe, and that starts to pull in colder air from the north and the northeast. Now we did a video yesterday, very interesting. If you've not seen that, you can find it on our catch-up page where you can watch all of the video musings that we do through the week. You watch them on demand on the catch-up page. Quite interesting, yesterday there were hints from both the GFS and the ECMWF that this weekend, around the 23rd, 24th of April, sort of day 9, 10, 11, we might start to see the winds going into the north and pulling cold air down from the north. The hints are still there on this GFS, albeit it's not an Arctic base northerly. The isobars don't go right to the very top of the pole, but the hints are still there. As you get through to that weekend, around the 23rd, 24th of April, we might start to pull down some colder northerly winds. Wait till you see the ECMWF. So it all starts off very similar with the ECM on Monday, high pressure bridging through the country, albeit it's fairly cool air, so night frost is a concern. We go through to the middle part of next week, excuse me, and we still keep that high pressure close to the country. It centres slightly to the west, but still more or less having an influence. It's not a heat wave because the air revolving around that high pressure generally from a northwesterly type direction. So it's not particularly warm, but it is mostly settled. But then we go through to the extended range, which takes us to Thursday the 21st of April and Friday the 22nd. We start to retrogress the high pressure. Now, if you watch my videos regularly, you'll know that retrogression means you take the high pressure, in this case, from east to west, as opposed to the normal flow, which is a zonal flow for us, west to east, because of the way we rotate around the sun. The northern hemisphere flow is normally westerly to easterly. So when you get pressure, in this case it's high pressure, going against the flow, the zonal flow, it's called retrogression, and that's what the ECM is doing here, retrogressing the high pressure on Friday the 22nd of April up towards Greenland. You follow the isobars back, you notice the air is starting to originate from a very long way north, and by day 10, which is Saturday the 23rd of April, we are into a direct northerly, and again, just follow the isobars back and see where that air is originating from. It's originating from somewhere up here, right over top of the pole. So this is really quite a dramatic northerly being plunged southwards as this high pressure moves up towards Greenland, it sends the jet stream into that sort of alignment, and that is a classic scenario for cold air to be plunging down from the north. The upper air temperatures back this up with the -5 isotherm being dragged a long way south, certainly for the time of year. Remember, this is April the 23rd, so we're well into the spring here, and that really is very cold air plunging down for the time of year. Now, I wouldn't necessarily be expecting snow across the south, but it's not too late on the 23rd of April to get snow in the north. Form of snow shower, probably. But perhaps more significantly would be the frost risk if that was to come off. So it still needs watching. The hints are still there. It's a very long way off. It's day 8, 9, 10, 11, that sort of time frame that we are thinking about with this, getting this northerly to come down. It doesn't really show up on the Beijing Climate Centre, which we were just looking at, by the way. So it's rather uncertain whether this is ever going to come to anything, but it does need watching just for no other reason that it's a fairly important time of year. When you get through to late April, you've got a lot of development going on in the gardens, in the fields, with the fruit blossom. So it does need watching, because if we did get that depth of northerly influence that the ECM is going for, it would be enough to produce some really quite significant and, because of the time of year, damaging night frost. Right, that's all for now. I've finally got this update done. That's all for now. Thank you very much for watching. We're going to be looking at the next week, 10 days, in tomorrow's video update, so come back for that. But that's all for now. Thanks for watching.